Okay, please carry on doing that. I'm going to just remind you of the topic today. It's on AI. We've done this a few times now. This is our third AI webinar, and we first talked about it in December 2022 when ChatGPT took off. So it's a topic that I find really fascinating. It reminds me of other periods in my career when the internet was making an impact on arts marketing, when social media was coming around. This feels like definitely one of those moments. I thought this would be a good session really to bring people together and to share some ideas. So this is going to be at parts an interactive session. But first of all, let me just mention who is speaking today. My name is Hans. I'm director and founder at HDK. And joining me, I'm really pleased to say I have Dennis Chan. He's digital marketing manager from Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. So I think he's waving there. Hello, Dennis. Um, we've also got, if we've got time, we've got Tom. Tom is our SEO specialist and helps some of our clients really get into SEO in a deep way. AI is obviously going to affect that. So he has prepared a presentation as well. If we don't have time, we'll leave it in the recording, and this webinar is being recorded, so it will be available on our website for you to come back to or share with friends. So also behind the scenes, and I haven't got a slide for them, I just wanted to say thank you to Carlos and Ariana. They are from Boston University. They're with HDK for 6 weeks as part of their course. And they are brilliant students and they're doing really well here. They're going to help. You're going to get a chance to hear from them at certain points in the webinar today. So what we're going to cover today is my aim for today was to try and give people an update on where they are, where your own personal journey is with AI, how people in the sector, other people in the sector are doing with AI, what they're using for. And so to do that, I've thought of two things, or a few things actually. I'm going to share, just as a case study, what some of the HDK team are using AI for today, how are they incorporating it into their everyday work. I then wanted to share with you a real case study, and I'm really pleased that Dennis from Royal Philharmonic Orchestra has joined us, and he's going to share how he uses AI. And then I wanted to do an interactive session on practical tips. So this is a chance for you to share what you're doing in AI, and we've got three structured questions to facilitate some tip sharing, some idea sharing using the chat box there, which is why I like you to use the chat very early on so you know where it is. I'm going to share some quick resources, and then hopefully we've got about 5-10 minutes for a discussion at the end. And as I said, this is going to be recorded and we're going to share this on our website afterwards. So just to get you going and just to get this interactive, we're going to run two quick polls just to sense what the experience in the room is. Carlos, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, so our first poll is just asking everybody what your experience with AI is, whether you've had no experience at all, you've played with it a little and experimented. If you've had quite a bit of experience, or if you have extensive experience and may even consider yourself an AI expert. So we're just going to wait a little bit while everybody answers this.
And this question reflects the benchmarking survey that HDK has been running. So it would be really interesting to see if people in the room reflect what the wider survey suggests.
All right, so we're going to give it about 5 more seconds. So get your answers in if you still haven't yet. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now. Um, so it seems that most of you have a little experience with AI and have experimented with it. Some of you have no experience at all. Some of you have quite a bit experience, and only a few of you have extensive daily AI experience, which is a very interesting distribution. So now we've got another poll that's coming up in just a moment. Just a second. So we just wanted to know what areas of marketing that you're currently using AI tools in, whether it's social media content generation, email marketing automation, copywriting, analytics and data insights, image video generation, or any of the other options. And just so you know, this is a multiple choice questions. So make sure you answer just to whichever areas you're using it to whatever it corresponds in. All right, so we're going to give it about 5 more seconds. All right, so I'm just going to go and end that poll now. So our results are quite interesting. It seems most people use it for copywriting, which comes in first, and up in second is social media content generation. Some use it for analytics and data insights, image and video generation, and in last is email marketing automation. And it's interesting, about 29% of participants marked it as other. I'd be very interested to know sort of what the distribution is there if we have time.
So that it was really interesting to get those results in. We'll compare those results with the wider survey that we've been running. But before I do that, I wanted to share with you a little bit about how HDK is using. I wanted an example of how a team is using it. And so if we look at Bella and Fizz, they're two of our team members who work in the market, help with marketing with our clients. They're currently using AI so Bella is using it to draft social content. She doesn't notice she's using it to draft social content, not to completely write it and generate it. She uses it to help differentiate different brand tones for different clients. But she's also using it for marketing research, in a way that you might use Google to research things, but using ChatGPT, going directly to ChatGPT or similar platforms to get information and provide that in a concise way. And it's helping her to format reports, marketing reports as well. So Fizz, also working with Bella, uses it for social. She's using different tools such as Canva. She's using it to create to create content, but also to organize her own personal notes. In our web team, we've got Kay and Levita. So we use a project management tool called Asana. Has got AI built into more and more platforms we're seeing are incorporating AI into them. So she uses it to help her generate weekly reports for clients based on all the tasks that have happened during the week. Our clients seem to find that really useful. She also uses it to structure emails, complex emails, where she's trying to explain some important information for a client that needs to be delivered in a really accessible way, because some of these topics are quite technical. So she'll use it for that, and she'll use it for generating meeting notes as well. So we don't have to have someone taking notes in a meeting, but we can record the meeting, turn the transcript into actions as well. Levita is using it, for example, to improve usability and accessibility for websites and clients, our client websites. And then getting more technical, Linus, who's part of our support team, he's using things for debugging code. So it's being used a lot in web code more increasingly. And he's also using it to support ticket management. Yannick, who writes technical briefs, really complex things for developers, is really using it a lot to help him with technical investigations. So he's using it quite a lot. So Richard, I hear that you're not using AI and you're keen to get started. I hope that we can help you with some prompts there to get you started by the end of this session as well. So one of the things I wanted to do, and maybe to help people like Richard understand where you are in sort of in the sector and where you stand, is we've been running this benchmarking survey for a little while now. We've sent the survey out through LinkedIn. We've got quite a big database of arts marketers through our webinar program, so we've invited people to complete the survey there. And we'll also we'll share that link at the end. So there's people here who've not been able to complete the survey yet, but we'll hope that you'll be able to get a chance at the end of this webinar. And we also want people to, and also we'll follow that up on our email as well. So the follow up after this webinar, we'll give you the link so you can fill out the survey. And then we'll write this survey up and we'll put it on our website. And we hope to run it again in the future, maybe in a year or 2 years' time, just to see how the everything is progressing. So one of the first questions we have done is asked, how are you using AI? And in our sample of people across the sector, we find that 2/3 are using AI and a third of you are not. So if you haven't used it, you're still in good company, but it's good to see and encouraging to see that 2/3 of the sector seem to be using AI in some kind of way at the moment. In terms of which tools you are using, you're mainly using it, it seems, for copywriting. That seems to be nearly 85% people. But we're also using it for social media content generation quite a lot. And the next sort of biggest group is image and video generation. I'm kind of surprised how many people are using it for that, because it still feels very clunky, but maybe there are specific ways that you're using it for that sort of thing that seems to work. For me, sometimes it's really obvious when I see AI generated videos on my feed, or when I see AI generated art, which feels very much like, for me, the clip art of the 90s. But maybe there are ways that it is still helping us in certain ways, graphics for social media, for example. And Ela, you talk about AI and accessibility, as well as AI for Asana. Definitely, it's something that we're starting to see how that is helping us plan for accessibility in our websites. So what factors are stopping that third of people who aren't using AI right now? So about 60% of you are saying that it's training that's holding you back. So if you're one of those people, great that you've come along to this session. You're working on the training for that, and I hope that you'll get some tips to help you along that journey there as well. It's really good that we are thinking about ethical concerns and we're thinking about data privacy. I think these are really important topics. It's not something we have time to cover so much in this session because we've only got an hour and we're wanting to cover a lot. But it is something that maybe we can come back to in the discussion if that's one of your questions. And I see also that, Naomi, you're concerned about those using AI to generate images and video content. I think there is obviously we're in the arts. We want to preserve the careers of people who make a living out of being creative, and so those are issues that we have to think about in our sector in terms of how we're using AI. What best describes your organization's adoption stage to AI? Did we just miss one there? Ariana, was there one slide before that I missed? Oh no, okay, fine, thank you. Yeah. So what best describes your organization's AI adoption stage? A small amount are not considering AI, but the biggest, nearly half, are exploring the options of AI. You're at that stage at the moment. And then less than that are regularly using it. 3% are regularly using it in their operations, and about a third of you are using it for specific tools as well. I just wanted to pick up on Lucy's point about environmental impact too. I think that is something that's really important and something that we have to think about as well. But fortunately, I know that there are that they're doing a lot of work to make it more less impactful on the AI. I'm just passing it. So, in terms of confidence, I've noticed that as individuals, we are below neutral on our confidence of AI for marketing tasks. And this reflects our view of our organizations that we work with, who we perceive as also on the next slide as having sort of a neutral to not confident approach to adopting AI in our organizations. And that's reflected in that slide there. And then if we go on to the next slide, what are your main reasons? Sorry, the one before that. What are your main reasons for exploring or adopting AI in marketing? And a whopping amount of us, again, over 60%, think that the main focus is to save our time. We work in organizations often or for clients where resources are poor, we're time poor, and if we can find AI and we can use AI to help us save some time, hopefully that could be a helpful thing. But other things that the next sort of favorite responses here were about audience insights and I think it was personalizing campaigns as well. When we ask about budget, less than 5% is being allocated to AI. It'd be interesting to see if that changes over time, but you might choose to pay for the pro versions of ChatGPT on other platforms. It may be an add-on for other platforms that you're using, or it might be for training. So it'll be interesting to see if that starts to change over time. And then on average, how many hours are you using? We're using less than an hour, we're saying, on AI related activity. Again, I'd be interested to see. I'm kind of surprised how little that is, but I'd be interested to see how that increases over time, over the next time we do this benchmarking survey. And then just to make sure, do we think it will become an essential part of arts marketing in the next few years? And nearly 3/4 or nearly 70% are saying yes, you do think it will be an essential part of AI in the future. So that is our benchmarking survey. Now, in the actual survey, there are more questions than that. In the report, we'll go into more qualitative responses as well. And there's a few more questions that I didn't include in this overview. And as I said, I want to get a few more answers from you. So if you're not a person if you're someone who hasn't completed that survey, we'll share it at the end of this, and we'll also email it to you in the follow-up email to this webinar. So now that brings us on to our case study. I've invited Dennis Chan to talk a little bit about how he's using AI. So you've got another insight into how people are using AI today. Dennis, welcome.
Yes, hello. This is Dennis from the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. So thanks so much to our team in HDK who has shared the benchmarking insights and all the stuff that are coming. And I think today I'll be just sharing a little bit of my personal experience using AI. So that's not like big breaking ideas, but I think I will just share some of the, wait a second. Three of my use cases that I use AI in my daily marketing tasks. Right, so maybe let's get started. Right, so I think AI is pretty good in doing with text data. So I usually use it to do some kind of proofreading, adaptation of copies, and I also use it a lot for data manipulation since I'm very much a data person. Right, so in proofreading, so a little bit of my own background. I actually came from Hong Kong around 2 years ago, and I do studied English, but English wasn't my first language. So sometimes it could be a little bit intimidating if I'm going to proofread like a long email or long blog post and stuff for my colleagues. So this is like one of the samples. So this is a blog article that was written by my colleague about a modern composer, Peter Yorfus. So it's a very long article, kind of technical. Yeah, right. So it would be really time consuming if I'm going to do like proofreading bit by bit, and I don't feel like it's a very efficient way to do it either, because it's very much a local person who wrote it, and I'm like, well, I'm not as good in English as him. So this is where I introduced AI to help me. Right, so basically in my prompts, I asked AI not to rewrite the whole article, but just to suggest me the changes or suggestions like one by one, so that I could review them and select some of them to implement, some not to implement. So this is like I copied the entire article here. And then the outputs for me, I think is pretty useful. So it's like sometimes they could pick up like spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, which maybe you can still do it with Microsoft Word. So just like avant-garde, we might have spelled it wrong. But sometimes they could spot mistakes that are rather difficult to pick up. Like, okay, begins and opens. You shouldn't use both words. You should use only begins or opens and stuff. So basically, I have a lot of blogs, a lot of e-newsletters, a lot of Facebook posts, IG posts that I have to proofread, and that used to spend a lot of my time. So I think after I introduced AI tools in my daily work, it really saved me a lot of time. And to go slightly further, we could even ask AI to do a little bit of offline material proofreading. So this is one of our house program, and it is the biography of our artist in residence, Johan Baden. So basically, when I'm doing proofreading, I'm just screen grabbing the whole thing and add one more step right before extract the text from the image. So AI successfully extract all the text and then help me to do all the reviews. Like, okay, so maybe the word prestigious shouldn't be put after 2019. It should be put before 2019. So that's a good thing I could pick up. Right, so this is like one of my daily use cases of AI in my usual marketing tasks. And also, since AI is rather good in working with text, so I usually ask it to do a little bit of adaptation of copies for me. So the thing for me is that I usually don't use AI when I am working on the very first draft or the very, very last draft of the text. So I think for the first draft, I think the artist has his own perspective, the editor has his own perspective, and I do think we should leave the creativity side of things to people instead of AI. But when the first draft has come out, like the big copy has come out, you would have a lot of use cases to kind of trim it into smaller sizes, like the Google Ads headlines, 30 characters, Google Ads description, 90 characters, or maybe something like a 60-word summary, a 90-word summary, stuff like that. So I think this is where AI comes in handy. Right. So this is one use case for me. I'll ask, okay, and by the way, don't worry about screen grabbing, copying all the prompts right now. I think they will be sent right after the presentation. And here, I would be asking AI to give me like a few sets of Google headlines, descriptions for different people. Maybe some of them are more novice classical music audience, some of them more experienced classical music audience. Then I can do my own segmentation in the Google side. And then I paste the copies in for my own concerts. And the output would be like, okay, here are some copies for your novice audience, some copies for the more experienced audience. Maybe for the experienced one, they could offer some less and more obscure composers like Kongo and Bartok, but maybe for the novice one, okay, let's go for Rachmaninoff. I think they personalize it rather well. Yeah, right. So this is like the output. Right. So, okay. Yeah, right. So again, a little bit of notes when I'm using AI for text data. I'm always thinking it's good for first draft, or maybe like it's never going to be the very final draft. There is still a lot of like sense proving or fact checking stuff that are involved when you're doing the very, very last draft. I think it's ultimately it's human that is responsible for the very last thing. So I think AI can give you like one extra step of helping, and it's usually very helpful. But I'm always thinking like, don't use it for the very, very final thing. Yeah, right. So before I go into data, maybe do we have a little bit of questions
Thank,
from
thank
the
you, Dennis.
audience?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask. So it's really interesting. I like the point you make that you're starting off using you're using your brain first of all. You're being human. You're using it sort of in the middle area, and then you're doing a final sense check. That suggests to me that
Hmm,
it's not always perfect. What's your
hmm.
experience there with its sort of errors uh, and is it still saving? Do you still feel it's saving you time overall?
Yes, right. So I think, especially for proofreading, I think a lot of a lot of people have already said, okay, so sometimes AI has a pattern of writing things, and it's kind of like usually quite visible if you're using AI in your entire copy. Yeah, right. And sometimes like a lot of commas and stuff. I think people with experience have spotted it before. So, right, I think that's why we also need some kind of like sense checking, fact checking, because sometimes AI also don't put up with those mistakes. But for me, I think it still saved me a lot of time in the middle process because just when you have saw when it's like such a long blog article and you do something like a long blog article every week or like every other week, and then next week you're doing a similar thing for e-newsletter, I think it's a really good thing just to use AI to quickly save. It saves you a lot of time to do some other things. So this is like my own experience using
Thank
it
you.
with text.
And Yasmin, very eagle-eye Yasmin, you spotted that Dennis has used ChatGPT there in his case study and Copilot. Dennis, what's your experience of you what do you want to say about using different
Mm.
platforms and why do you use different platforms?
Right. So I think first of all, my office subscribes to the Microsoft Office 369, which actually includes the Microsoft Copilot for like the more the corporate users. So I feel safer when I'm putting up my data into Copilot. So this is like my own primary choice of things. But sometimes maybe there are Copilot couldn't deal with like all the things. Maybe I'll showcase in the next slide as well, like the data manipulation. And this is where maybe it's good to use some other tools to augment or to supplement the shortcomings of your like first analysis using Copilot. So maybe like data, I think ChatGPT feels better. And when you're thinking about deep research and stuff, I feel like Perplexity is a good tool because it's just like 5 credits daily. So yeah, right. So this is like how I try to segment my users in different platforms.
Great. Thank you, Dennis. And just to say to people who have joined late because of the limitation, you're welcome to watch the recording afterwards. We'll put that on the website. But do stay around now because we have got interactive moments, and you might enjoy being involved in the webinar more than just watching it on catch up afterwards. Um, Sorry, over to you, Dennis. Yeah, I know you've got one more case.
Yes, right. So I think maybe I could come to the last case that I usually use data with. So I am personally more a data person than a text person. Yeah, right. So I usually deal with data, and maybe I can share like a data use case for everyone here. So maybe for some of the marketers here, maybe Facebook and Instagram analytics are your best friend. So, but we always know there are some shortcomings working with Facebook data. Like you can only download reports for 3 months. And then if you want to compile an analysis of like 2 years, 3 years, you have to download like tens of reports and compiling together. And usually the columns are scrambled. If you just do copy and paste, it's going to be like a lot of errors and stuff. So this is like one use case that I can quickly demonstrate how I use AI to kind of like append the data and do the analysis. Let me see. Sorry for the reload. Maybe I can do it. Right, my goal here is trying to find directly from the outputs from Facebook, like which weekday am I doing the best in engagements, or maybe like which month am I doing the best in engagements. Right, again, don't worry about the prompts or the long output here. You can see in the materials later. So the first thing that I'm going to do is basically upload the data and ask AI to help me append the data into like one whole thing. So this is like I uploaded 3 files, and then it could already give me like a combined CSV. Yeah, right. So if you want to analyze the data on your own, that's okay. If you want to ask AI to do a little bit further, that's fine too. And the later steps could be like, I can ask AI to add a few columns for me. Like, can you define total engagements to be like likes plus shares plus comments plus saves plus follows, stuff like that? And can you also add something like a column of weekday of the published day? Then so after adding all those columns at the end, so these are the columns that you use, right? So I'll be asking AI to be like, calculate the average engagement after grouping the data by month. So this is like monthly engagement, so like several hundred, and maybe like by weekday, because I also set up like a new column for weekday. So it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, stuff like this. And if you want to go slightly further, you could even try to ask AI to plot a graph. They are also good at plotting graphs, like using their own Python packages. But sometimes I do feel like Copilot is a little bit unstable in doing graphs. So it's like the next graph I couldn't generate it already. And this is exactly where I bring in some other tools like ChatGPT. Right, so I download the combined data frame and ask it to be like, okay, can you do me a graph of month and stuff? So it consistently performed better for me. But the shortcoming is that if you are not purchasing the monthly subscription, there is only 5 daily maximum advanced data analytics quote prompts that you can use in ChatGPT. Right, so this is like where we make a difference. So it seems I can't do any more advanced data analysis right now because I reached the limit. Right, so this is like a mini use case of using AI in data. The notes that I usually have would be like never provide any personal data, and also try to go for the enterprise options so that you feel like there are more privacy in the data. And if you're using ChatGPT like what I did just now, there is like, if you're using for free, there is like a button for like improve the model for everyone. Make sure to uncheck that. Make sure they're not using your data for training and stuff. So I'm not sure if it's like an exhaustive list of cautions, caveats, but at least this is the way how I do it now. Right, so I think that finishes a little bit of my sharing. So it's like 3 use cases. And if you do have like more questions, welcome to reach out to me in the email. Yeah, right. And I think there will be a Q&A session at the end as well. So we welcome some discussion at the end.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. And there have been some things coming up in the chat that I think is worth bringing up now. First of all, Teresa, she makes a nice point about changing between the pro versions of these apps. It reminds me very much of what I'm like with all the TV options you have nowadays. I sort of like do one for a month, and then when I've watched everything I can and get out of it, I'll maybe move on to another one. But it feels like there's something to be done with all the pro versions of AI tools. What are you doing with the pro versions of AI tools? How many are you subscribing to?
I think so far I've only been subscribing to the ChatGPT version of it because especially for advanced data analysis, that was like a very useful tool for me. At the very beginning, I basically just asked AI, "Oh, can you give me 20 insights?" And sometimes that's already good enough. Yeah, right. But when you're doing it with the free version, very, very quickly you would be reaching that bottleneck like, oh, I can't do more data analysis right now. Come back tomorrow at 9:23 a.m., something like that. So I think that one has been a useful tool. But for Copilot, I think right now at my own subscription in the Microsoft Office 365, I think that's good enough for me. Yeah, right, I can already do like infinite prompts, almost infinite prompts there. So I think I don't need to do that one. And some people may use Perplexity, some people may use Midjourney, but I think the free version of Perplexity I think is good enough for me, like the 5 daily searches. So basically, I'm not using that many tools at the moment. You're right, but I think ChatGPT is a good investment if we are going for it.
Great. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much for your case studies. And there's a lot of other things going in the chat that I'll try and cover in some ways. There's one about AI policies, but I think I'd quite like to move on to the next section now. And Dennis, you're going to stay around for, hopefully we've still got a few minutes for discussion. We may go over a little bit of time, so if people have to go on the hour, do feel that's absolutely fine, but we'll try and make sure there's at least 5 minutes for discussion at the end as well. So the next section is designed to be interactive. We want you to share some of your tools, what you're doing. So some of you in the room will be using AI a lot. Some of you might not be, but if you are, we want you to share your tools in the chat box. So just have that ready. We're going to cover 3 topics and we're going to give about 3 minutes to each one. So it's going to be quite fast. So the first topic we're going to do is time saving and quick wins. So what are your main sort of quick win? I'll just give you a sneak peek of what the other 2 topics are. They're enhancing creativity and engagement, and they're advanced tools and techniques. But because I want to get through these quickly before we get to the end, I'm going to ask you to now just in the chat box, if you've got a tip that you've not shared or that you've not heard being shared so far in the webinar that you have adopted, I'd love you to put that in the chat and let's pick out 1 or 2 to discuss over the next few minutes. I'll read them out as you're putting them in. So I've got Natalie here who's saying that using ChatGPT and Claude daily, using custom ChatGPT tools. GPT tools, that's a great tip. That's where you can pre-save things that you use on a regular basis just to save you a bit of time with the prompts. And we've got ChatGPT for campaign timelines. I'm really interested in how, Roberta, you do campaign timelines with that. Teresa is using Notebook LM. Is that the one where it can produce podcasts when you upload lots of content and the mind maps? Yes, I've been hearing about that. I've not explored the mind maps, but the study guide, it must be the same thing. I think that's quite incredible, that tool, the Notebook LM. For accessibility, yes, thank you. That's a topic that came up earlier. The idea of using alt text generators is a really good way of using AI to help make your websites more accessible. Jim talks about Gemini Google. Yeah, I think that's a great tool as well. We've got Sylvia using English grammar and syntax through ChatGPT. We've got Nicola's come back again and said using it for different voices in the same copy saves time thinking about how to express the same point for different groups. Carlos is using it to swap between US grammar and UK grammar. I think that's a really useful tool. I've done the same thing there myself. Good. We've got a few more tools. We'll gather all of these tips if I haven't read them out because there's so many of them here, and we'll share them in the write-up of this as well. But I wonder if we don't want to move on to the next one. Maybe this is a little harder, this one. are you using AI for enhancing creativity and engagement? So what tools are you using? What are your favorite tools for enhancing creativity and bringing about engagement? So I'm using Copilot for WhatsApp to generate events like this. Alan, I wonder if you are happy to switch on your camera and explain a little bit more about that while we wait for some other responses to come in. Don't worry if you're shy, that doesn't matter. Nicola talks about making copy more accessible, rewriting copy to appeal to a family audience like that. I think that's really good. I've tried using Perplexity to think about a client's audience, and it's came back with some really useful information. Maybe this is an opportunity to talk about prompts and how we prompt. So if you're new to AI, one of the big secrets, or not the secrets, but one of the big sort of gateways to getting more out of AI is all about how you use prompts. Now, we've talked about prompts in previous webinars we've done this, and Meg in the last AI webinar that we've got about a year ago on our website talks about how to prompt properly to get the most to get the best answers from ChatGPT, because it's really if you're not getting the answers that you want from AI often, it's about how you can re-ask that question or prompt it in different ways to get those results as well. Okay. So, Alan, don't worry about the camera. Are you willing to put your microphone on and talk? And if not, I think, Alan, you have also sort of followed that up by using the follow. You put some more information in the chat about Google Calendar by following those parameters that you've been putting in. So thank you. We'll go on to the last question. And this is more about advanced tools and techniques. So if you're using it for workflow, so for example, I mentioned that our project managers are using the tools built into Asana to help them with workflows. Is there anything like that, or any of you using it in Google Analytics, for example? Are there any tips that anyone wants to share about using AI to get more out of that, out of Google Analytics? Lucy, you're talking about people using it to predict questions to a board report. We have used it in similar sorts of ways. We might, for example, load up. Then one of the tips I would say is use an AI tool where you can upload PDF information. It can process that information. So if we're sent a brief, we might upload the client brief, and then we might use AI to help us interrogate that brief, that then we can then go back to the client with those questions. So using it for trustee questions is exactly a similar way that we might use it for as well. Ariana, you're using it to generate Google Analytics for workflows. So yes, I think one of the things that I think that AI is brilliant at is we are now expected to grasp different platforms and software online, but with minimal instructions. So today, preparing for this Zoom call, I wasn't quite sure how to do something in Zoom that we usually do, that my colleagues usually do. I quickly put into ChatGPT. It gave me a much more succinct, straightforward how-to steps that I would have got maybe from older versions of Google. Google now includes that because it has Gemini included. It's now already giving those instructions, but I'm finding that's really helpful. I want to sort of come back to some of these questions, and thank you everyone who's contributing in the chat as I'm speaking. This is really interesting how interactive and how forthcoming you are with your tips in the chat. Sometimes we don't get so much interaction, so this is brilliant. I'm going to give those of you who are maybe newer to AI a few tips on resources coming up. There's a really, oh no, we're going to skip Tom. We're going to include Tom's video in the recording, so you can come back to that. But he's going to talk about how SEO is going to be affected by AI.
Hi, I'm Tom, and today I'm going to speak to you briefly about the hot topic of AI and SEO. So the question, how is AI affecting SEO? The answer to that is at the moment, a little bit, and in the future, radically. AI will affect all facets of marketing, of course, over time, and have a profound effect on SEO. So SEO itself has evolved significantly over the past few decades, and change has been the constant. So in some respects, AI is simply part of SEO's overall evolution. However, with the advent of AI, the degree and speed of change will be markedly different. AI is already affecting aspects of SEO such as how users search. With the advent of Google's AI overviews, us users are already using tools such as ChatGPT rather than traditional search engines. In time, search engines could even be completely superseded by generative engines, i.e., where answers to questions are simply presented to you rather than a list of search engine results pages. However, that shift is likely to be gradual or even generational. After all, ChatGPT is still only 4% of the search market, whereas Google is approximately 84%. And so to the question, what do I do now to prepare for the future? Well, the positive news is that you're most probably already heading in the right direction. Because good user experience equals good SEO. And good SEO equals good GEO. So what do we mean by GEO? Generative Engine Optimization. The process of optimizing your website's content to boost its visibility in AI-driven search engines such as ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Copilot, and Google AI Overviews. So really think about focusing on fundamentals. The following are some key considerations to enhance the chances of your website featuring now and in the future in aspects such as feature snippets, people also ask, plus Google AI overview citations and tools such as ChatGPT. Think very much about brand. Brand is expected to become even more important as AI will endeavour to source content and provide citations to brands that it trusts the most. Backlinks have been a key part of SEO over the past couple of decades. It will become more sophisticated and nuanced than just this. For example, aspects such as brand searches will become increasingly important. Think about your technical foundations and ask yourself questions such as, does your site pass Google's Core Web Vitals? Does it perform well in Lighthouse performance scores? Is it fast enough? Tools such as PageSpeed Insights can help you to identify issues. Technical performance of your website now and in the future will continue to be incredibly important. And I'm sure many of you have heard the expression content is king. It's still very much the case. The bar continues to be raised in terms of content quality expectations. And so commit to creating best-in-class content, best-in-class pages, as this will resonate well in search both now and going forward. And also think about content structure, breaking down content into bite-sized chunks, using regular subheadings known as H2s and H3s, recognized as being even more important than ever. This helps both search engines and the likes of ChatGPT to understand the structure of content and pick out individual segments. And also think about optimizing for conversational queries. Finally, 5 quick tips on utilizing AI, for example, a tool such as ChatGPT for content generation. First of all, use it to ask for ideas, to generate content ideas. For example, give me 10 ideas on articles around the topic of X. Also use it to generate specific ideas for what content should be covered on a page. Again, asking for guidance on page structure. Prompts. Remember that the output is only ever as good as the input, the prompt. Therefore, be sure to brief a tool such as ChatGPT thoroughly on who your audience is, where they're from, what level of detail they want on a particular topic, how expansive the page should be, etc. On the aspect of trust, don't trust it completely. AI is known to get things wrong and hallucinate at times, certain things that simply aren't the case. Regularly cross-reference with other sources and fact-check. Over-reliance, avoid it. Don't rely on it to write most website copy for you, particularly on informational articles. Content won't be original. AI is effectively spinning other content, and there are various other risks, including potential Google penalties. We're in the very early days of AI, and until more is known, it's better to play safe, write most of the copy yourself. Also, don't use AI tools such as ChatGPT in isolation. Keyword research tools such as SEMrush and Ahrefs still very much have a value, and indeed these tools themselves are beginning to integrate AI aspects such as content creation tools. And finally, we're back to brand. For your content to be fully appreciated, your brand proposition must be clearly understood. Continuing to articulate this clearly and consistently across all channels, particularly your website, is vital so that we're clearly understood. For example, ask ChatGPT who it thinks you are. If the answer isn't to your liking, think about how clearly you're articulating your proposition in places such as your About page and your social presence. In conclusion, the dawn of AI presents tremendously exciting times for both marketing and SEO. Embrace it, enjoy it, and get ready. The ride's certainly about to get faster.
We have got, I wanted to flag up an AMA course that starts, I think, next month. I think it's an 8-part course. The link to that is in the coming up in the chat. I think it's just come up in the chat. I think it's really reason. I don't know the course. I've not done the course. It's a new thing for them. It's Essentials of AI. It's 8 parts, I think, over 8 weeks, I think. And it looks like a really good course for people to increase their AI skills. And I think that is going to be really important for us to have those skills over the coming years. So I wanted to give a shout out to that course. I also wanted to remind you, I've already discussed it. We have done other webinars on this. It's on our website already, and this one will be printed out, will be shared online, and we'll email everyone who's signed up to this. We'll email you to let you know when that's on our website. And we've also got a handout that we created last time that Carlos has updated for us. We've updated some of the events that were out of date from the last one. We've updated some of the tools that you can use. It talks about how to prompt. So if you're a beginner and you're trying to understand how you need to prompt AI tools to get the best answers, it's got an explanation of that. It just reminds you that there is more out there than ChatGPT. So we haven't had time to cover the fact that there's Grok, there is Perplexity, there's Gemini. ChatGPT is probably the one that most people know. There's Copilot that we saw Dennis using earlier on. So that's all there listed in the handout as well. And that will be on the website by the end of today as well. So when you get the email reminder, that handout will be there as well. Right, I think we should move on to the discussion in the last 5 minutes. If you've got a question that you want to raise, or if you want to share something yourself, this is the chance to do that. So if you're happy to share something, do feel free to put your camera on, put on your sound, and share that. But I think one of the questions we had in advance was from Helen. So she asked, how should we protect ourselves from the personal well-being disadvantages of using AI? So for example, information overload and fast-paced work leading to stress, AI use discouraging creative thinking. Helen, are you here and are you willing to give a little bit more context to your question that you pre-submitted? I wasn't sure if Helen was going to be here in person. So is there anyone who wants to tackle or address Helen's concerns? I think they're very valid concerns, really important for us to think about those. Does anyone have any immediate thoughts? And Dennis, feel free to chip in here if you've got some thoughts there, just to get the discussion going. For me, yeah, is that someone willing to chip in? Yeah, Shona.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I'm really pleased to see this up front in the discussion. because it's something that I think, as an older member of my team, is something that I am concerned about with the younger members of my team, because it does seem to be very all-consuming and can really take over your life. So I'm just delighted that you've put this up front.
Thank you, Shona, and thank you, Shona, and also thank you to Helen for putting the question. It wasn't the plan to do this, but I do think these are important issues, and I think it's great that we have the opportunity to address that. I've got my thoughts. Obviously, I had this in advance, so I've had a time to think about this one, and I think the first of all is that AI can be a powerful tool, but just like any other technology, its impact on our well-being depends on how we use it. And I think for me, it resonates with me, particularly for I'm a chronic doom scroller. I have to put in boundaries on myself to avoid that waking up first thing and doom scrolling on my phone. I've got a plan, but I think the same sort of setting boundaries is important for AI. And I think we got a hint of it with Dennis when he talked about starting off with the human thought, then using it to save some time, and then coming back. I think it's really important to set those boundaries, and also to remember. I think that AI is there to think about AI is there to reduce our workload, not add to it. So I think that's important. So you have to have a framework there. You have to put some thinking into that. Just because it can save you time, then you shouldn't be then filling up that other free time with more sort of online time, perhaps. And then bringing back to Dennis's point, just building in that human reflection and that creativity, I think is really important. We don't want to lose that. And yesterday I was reading an article that came up on my feed about how the risk of us all using AI for not just work things, but are, asking any advice from AI. We ask it how to deal with, issues in our romantic life, or how to deal with, friendships. And we start to lose the ability to have confidence in our own experience and our own intuition there. So I think it's really important that we do think about those things, and I think Helen has brought that to the fore with her question. So thank you, Shona, for echoing that. And I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything to that. I think, is there another question? I think I'm just going to have a look in the chat. So Beth says, I find it difficult to know how to phrase the prompts, but think that it's a me problem. A list of prompt examples would be nice. I want to come back to the policy question as well. So does anyone want to give any sort of hints to Beth on phrasing prompts? Has anyone got any experience there that they want to share? And do switch your microphone, because I'm on my laptop. So if anyone wants to say something, just sort of chip in. Otherwise,
I could say very quickly how I used to learn prompts. So the keyword is prompt engineering. And I remember the first time I did a prompt engineering course in Coursera, that was around the end of 2023. So maybe for me to really go inside AI as an introduction, I think taking some YouTube videos on the prompt engineering discipline would be a good start. Maybe it's a good short course, maybe a longer course, but at least go for something structured, and that would be very helpful.
Right. Thank you, Dennis. And there's another question that came up earlier and has been reshared again, I think. And that was around AI policy. So I want to flag up that, again, the Arts Marketing Association have got some really good work on helping you generate your AI policy. So if that's something you're thinking about, do have a go at that. HDK, we have created our own AI usage policy that we share with our team, and it's part of our onboarding process. Dennis, does the RPO have any experience with an AI policy, and is it something that you publicly share?
It's a work in progress on our
Yeah.
side. So we have been talking about it for like several months already. But I think we are not so much like a website company where AI is basically everyone are using them and it's benefiting everyone. So it hasn't been like a big priority on our own end. But for us, I mean, for me, actually, I have a few principles on my own. Maybe it doesn't apply to everyone. So I've said a little bit earlier. I try to use AI only to augment or to enhance the work, but not to replace it. And I never use it for the final product. And I also use it when it's the best tool. Like if I have some other better tools, like if I'm doing consistent data analysis, maybe I'll just do a HLOOKUP in Excel or use Power Query instead of consistently asking AI. It's not good for the environment. It's not like the most reliable thing either if you're doing like it like very consistently. So these are like some of my personal advice.
Great, thank you. And I would echo the point also that it is a work in progress. And I think the important thing to remember here is that it's changing so quickly that we're having to review our policies. We're having to review it regularly. So whatever policy you have, I think you've got to make sure that you've got that sort of safeguard to come back to it on a periodic basis, review it, improve it. And I think we're all on this journey, and we're learning pretty quick, and we're having to learn pretty quickly as well. Okay. Just going to have a look at artworks. Is there a platform I can upload a picture and get a description? I need help with descriptions of artworks. Is there a platform I can upload a picture and get a description? Oh, and someone has responded to that one. Be My Eyes on an iPhone and use it in a photo gallery. I think a lot of the platforms also can look at images, so it should be something that you can try out on different platforms. I recently saw a picture. I used Google on my phone to do a reverse lookup and got lots of information. So there should be tools that can help and then generate that into descriptions as well. I did see the question on environmental impact. I don't know if anyone wants to help with that one for Lucy's question. I know that there is work being done to improve it, but it is, we know the internet in general uses up a lot of energy in data servers. We at HGK are doing a lot to make our websites more environmentally friendly. But what are we able to do when we think about our use of AI? And that is something that we're going to have to look at a lot more at the moment. Okay. Just check. I think there are. Oh, hold on. There's one more question. It would be good to have recommendations of which AI to use for different arts marketing tasks, e.g., use X for copywriting, X for data analysis, and so on. Otherwise, it feels quite big and daunting and goes back to the issue of not having time to experiment with so many. I think, and again, someone please sort of raise your voice if you want to help answer that question. But I think this is a really difficult one to solve for you, because I do think it literally changes day by day, and that there seems to be a massive competition there's clearly a lot of competition between the big platforms. They're all trying to get market share. They're all constantly releasing new versions of their platforms and their tools, and offering more for free. It's changing every day, and in some ways I find that quite exciting to see the new tools that they can do. But having that time my fear is that whenever we try to write a recommendation, and it's partly why I didn't want to give all the tips today, but I wanted to facilitate tips from the group, is because it is changing so quickly. So Absolutely, I understand that it's daunting, that it's changing so quickly, and it feels like you have to invest a lot of time. But that's why I would say just take small steps, and just try it out and try and focus on one thing. Try it out for a week, and small bite sizes, and then slowly you will start to think in the way that, oh, I'll just try this one, or I'll just try that, and you tend to find a new solution each time. I don't know what anyone else has got an experience dealing with that, and if any tips to encourage Sarah. Jim explains the more specific you are with prompts, the better the AI output. I love this one from Teresa, with the prompts, and it's a good reminder. Thank you, Teresa. She you could ask sometimes what ChatGPT or what they need from you. So, what other information do you need? At the end of a prompt, sometimes generates a richer response. I think it's a really good tip. A really helpful one to do, to make sure that the prompts that you're giving to ChatGPT and similar is getting the information it needs out of you. And so sometimes you'll say, I am looking for this, I want this, I'm this kind of person. What other information do you need from me to be able to give me that answer? Can work really well. I'm very glad that so many of you have stayed over the time. I am going to bring it to an end. I'm kind of overwhelmed with the responses that we've got in the chat box. So it's clearly an interesting topic to many of you. I'm encouraged that so many other conferences are doing AI. I've seen people sort of roll their eyes when I talk about AI sometimes. So I seem to have found a community here that are as interested in it as me. So thank you very much. I'm sorry that we've gone over time. It's always hard to predict how to keep this in within time. I want to say a big thank you to Dennis for his contributions to this webinar. So thank you, Dennis. And thank you to everyone else for joining. I'm going to switch off now. We'll put a lot of work into doing the write-up, capturing as much as we can from the chat, and re-editing the video, the recording of this, so it's got Tom's bit that we didn't have time for, and all of that. So thank you again, everyone, and I hope to see you in a future webinar. Yeah, have a good day.